So I want to take a slightly different tack on this, which is to say that when we think about the scenarios that might lie ahead in the next 3 years, there are a few key factors that shape those. Obviously, the economy. Secondly, the rate of digital transformation, the impact of digital transformation. Thirdly, geopolitical uncertainty. Then there's the issue of our people and our customers' behaviors and what their expectations are. But what's really interesting to me is when you look across all of the potential scenarios, you see this really interesting balance between, or tension between, on the one hand, organizations fearing that they're facing an existential risk. And this is one of the things we hear more and more from boards and the non-execs are you geared up to deal with existential risk? And on the other hand, the scale of change, the speed of change, and the emergence of new sectors and the impacts of what technology can create for us, we have this tension, as I say, between existential risk and exponential growth opportunities. And there are so many scenarios that could play out that I think we need to take a step back from trying to work out the scenarios and think about what are those no regrets things we can do that would work under any scenario. And the first is making sure we've got a plan B, that as well as our current growth plan, we are thinking about what would we do if there was a 5 or 10% turn down in the economy or in our markets? How would we respond? Let's have that plan ready. But equally, what would we do to drive exponential growth, or to grow and double the business within 4 years? A lot of people are happy with whatever their growth number was, 5, 10, 15%. But now we're starting to see organizations say, what if we give ourselves permission to look at doubling the firm's size in 3, 4, 5 years? How does that force new thinking? And how does that get our people performing differently? The next, I think, and this is something we're hearing a lot from non-execs again, and one of the clients I work with, their board is really hot on this. They're using different language, but it's about what is the body language of the firm? What is the body language of the firm to the marketplace? Do we show that we're open? Are we showing that we can partner them in whatever direction we're going in? And examples would be when our customers were a bank and our customers start talking about crypto. How are we reacting? Are we trying to help them understand it? Or are we saying we'll close their account if they try and use crypto, we'll ban them? If we're a professional services firm, how are we responding when our customers say they're setting up a presence in the metaverse, or they're setting up an AI team, or they're going after a rapid acceleration of investment and looking at investing in 110 firms this year in a portfolio approach where they're handing responsibility to junior staff to drive those investments? How are we as a professional service firm responding to that? What is our body language when we have those conversations? Are we excited by that and saying, well, here's how we can help you? Or do we naturally move into a kind of defensive posture and a risk posture? And the next one then, and the body language is also internally. If someone has ideas in our firm, whatever we say the culture is, how do we respond? If someone spots an opportunity to do things differently inside the firm and volunteers to lead that initiative, what happens? What happens next? Is the body language one that encourages that, or basically leaves people to think, I won't do that, I'll wait till I'm told, or I'll wait until someone sets up a project to do X? And the two final ones. One is, with the pace of technological change, we're all realizing that many of the systems that we operate within are running out of steam, whether it's healthcare, education, the financial system, the design of our businesses. They were born typically late 40s to mid 80s was like the models that we work with. We tried to fit the new world into those models, but we're seeing them creaking now. And the challenge now, and the reason why a lot of digital transformation efforts don't succeed, is because it's just impossible to fit them into the existing organization. So one of the things we see non-execs doing more and more, and organizations being asked to do by their leadership teams, is to say, what if we were starting again? What if we took a clean sheet of paper and we were to redesign this business, starting with the data and the technology? How would we redesign around that in the same way as new entrants do? And then the final piece, and that the others have touched on this, is foresight. We often say that non-execs are there to do the challenge around the future. But who is really charged, whether it's internally within the firm or within the non-execs, with that explicit remit of being a pain in the backside, of constantly challenging us to look at things that we're not putting attention on, having that radar that's looking out, surfacing the things that we really don't want to hear because they challenge our core assumptions, and we're hoping that those won't be challenged. And the problem is that hope isn't a very good strategy. And so those for me would be the key ones. Not worrying too much about individual scenarios, but saying, what is our capacity to drive our thinking around dealing with existential risk or exponential growth? How would we handle both and be able to hold both in our heads? The second is the organizational body language, really challenging ourselves to say, how open are we externally and internally? The third is this ability to design for technology, to really start again and think about what is it we would do as a thought exercise maybe, but also as a challenge to the way we do business. And the final one is, what is our mechanism for bringing foresight in? Who's charged with the responsibility for doing that? And how do we train our leaders inside the firm to use foresight rather than say, that was a fun afternoon where we talked about the future, and then the managing partner stands up and says something really helpful, like, now back to the real world, or now back to practical matters, which is a great way of killing off the conversation you've just had. So with that, I think that's my 5 minutes, and I'll hand it back to you, Richard.